Long before there were pharmacies, there were healers. Mothers, fathers, and neighbors who turned to the earth for wellness. Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Each week we explore the plants, traditions, and time-honored remedies that connect us to that ancient wisdom, so you can bring it into your modern life.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Jim Applegate. Today I wanted to talk about one of the things going on. The balloon Fiesta just got over if you're in Albuquerque, and if you haven't heard about it, the balloon Fiesta is amazing. Green chili season just ended, which for us here in New Mexico, that means there's a shift coming. And the shift is the change of seasons. Quite often when there's a change of seasons, our bodies have to adjust and make some changes. So I wanted to talk about preparing for the change from summer to winter and what happens to our body and kind of what we can do to make that transition easier on us, but to make winter time a much more enjoyable transition for us. So let's talk about what happens. So when we go from summer to winter, it's darker, the days are shorter, there's less daylight. And so it's a time of actually rejuvenation. Our bodies, when we are more dormant and when we rest, sleep, those sort of things, that brings our bodies into a place where they can rejuvenate or repair themselves. So even though it seems like, we're needing more sleep and more rest, our bodies are actually rejuvenating and repairing themselves during this time of the year. So it's something to think about. So give yourself lots of rest. Another thing that happens during the transition from summer to winter, that you have the autumn, but the colder temperatures and stuff. So when we heat our homes, a lot of the heating things that we do actually dry out our bodies. That sucks a lot of moisture out. So you want to make sure that you're really well hydrating. Also cold, when we're really cold, it takes more water out of our body. So hydration is really, really important. Also, coming into the winter months, movement becomes more difficult because we're not outside as much. We're not going on hikes or playing at the lakes or the rivers or camping or whatever we do. It's a lot less. So you want to kind of try and keep up with that movement. So we go back to, our favorite form of movement, which is the rebounder. Not only is the rebounder a great form of exercise, it's gentle, it's consistent, cleans out the lymphatics, it works and moves every muscle in your body. So, rebounders are just amazing. So something I learned a long time ago that has really stuck with me, quite often the people will talk about fruits and vegetables in their season. Like fruits and vegetables and things are seasonal. They actually have a season when they're available, and we've gotten to a time now where you can get just about anything because of how the world is. It's all connected and everything. So you can have apples all year long. And like squashes, there's winter squashes or hard squashes and summer squashes, and you can get those all year round now because of being able to move things around. But the earth grows them at a certain season for us because those things have a certain effect upon our bodies. So the example that I learned about many years ago is that strawberries come into season in March and April. They're early spring fruits, and that's because strawberries actually thin out the blood and get us ready for our bodies to deal with the summer. The opposite of that is apples. Apples come onto the trees in September, October, November. They're a fall winter fruit, and the reason they do that is it thickens the blood. It actually helps the body to better cope with extreme cold and lower temperatures. So finding your food and eating your food in the season that it is supposed to come up. Another great example is oranges. Oranges and a lot of the citrus fruits ripen in December and January. So that's when our bodies have that extra need of the vitamin C and the other things that the citrus fruits give us as they ripen at their season. So, it's something to keep in mind and to remember. A lot of people sometimes see winter as, this is the time of year I got to get through. I've got to push through or whatever. And sometimes just having the mindset of that it's a time for renewal. It's a time for our bodies to rest and recuperate. Our bodies are very cyclical, which means they follow a cycle. And there's a daily cycle, a monthly cycle, seasonal cycle, a yearly cycle. So just knowing that your body has a cycle and it's going through this cycle is really helpful to think about. So let's talk about some of the herbal formulas that we use to help with winter health. So the de facto go-to is Fection. So basically our bodies are kind of slowing down, preparing for repair. But because we're inside more contained air, the opportunity for more illnesses comes up. And so you want to use Fection to help the body deal with all of that stuff that it's got, all of the enclosed air that we're breathing. With Fection, we like to just have it on hand. It's if Lynn always keeps a backup bottle at the house, and if she opens that backup bottle, she's like, "Bring me some more." She never wants to be out of Fection, just because you never know when something's going to come up, and you want to have that immediately have Fection. So with this time of year, the things that, the colds, the flus, if you notice, they're all respiratory issues because we're blocked in and stuff. So, we go to the respiratory herbs, Hayaz for the upper respiratory system, Fection for anything that's going on through all of it, ammonia phlegm up for the lungs and the lower part of the respiratory system. So anytime there's ear, nose, throat, anything from your throat up, that's Hayaz. And if anything from the throat down is ammonia and phlegm up. So phlegm up helps move it either way. So if you have a lot of stuff going on in the upper respiratory system, so from the throat up, it's definitely draining down into your lungs. So, if you really notice that draining, you want to use phlegm up. Even if you're not feeling icky or whatever, basically all that gunk is draining down into your lungs and you want to move it out. So those are really important for preparing your body and having it ready for the winter. Some people just take one Fection a day during this time of year just to help make their immune system a little bit stronger and to keep them from getting anything, or if they do get something, to keep it from getting any worse. So another formula that we use a lot during this time of year is blood wash. So we kind of talked about the replenishing and the renewing of our bodies. Blood wash helps clean out the lymphatics. It gets rid of any toxins that we've been exposed to, but it also helps the blood move the way it's supposed to. So like I said, all of the fruits and vegetables that are in season right now, they thicken up the blood. So basically they help the blood be thicker so that our body can maintain its temperature. And blood wash will help the body to make that blood the way it needs to be to keep our bodies healthy, but also to keep the blood moving correctly. And it's really helpful too, because it's moving the lymphatics and moving everything. And during this time of year, when we're not as active, we're not moving as much, blood wash helps to move all of that through. So that's another one. A lot of people that at this time of year just take one blood wash a day just to keep all of everything moving correctly to be ready for it. So like we talked a little bit about it's rejuvenating and rebuilding. If you know, anybody with arthritis, like older people, they'll talk about the winter's worse because as soon as they get cold, their joints get stiffer and they get some more of that grinding and achy in the joints. So arthritis is amazing. Tissue mend is also wonderful because our bodies are going through a repair phase or, a rejuvenation phase. So having that tissue mend in your body really makes a difference. So because you're adding tissue mend, the minerals is also really helpful to rejuvenate your body, to rebuild anything that's, that it's got to rebuild or anything like that. So another formula that it's become like one of my secret favorites, like it's something that I the more I've looked into it and the more I've been taking it, the more I really, really like it. And that formula is travel or O-cramp. So O-cramp and travel are the exact same thing. They just have a different name for different reasons or different uses. So travel in this context is because basically travel boosts the metabolism, gets it moving, but it also helps our body deal with different temperatures. Sometimes when you talk to somebody, they're like, I am always so cold, I'm always freezing. One travel a day will bring up their body's, it's not that their temperature is low, but it's how their blood is moving and how their body is reacting to different temperatures. And travel will bring that up. It will make their body able to deal with it, to deal with the extremes of temperatures and we're constantly swapping temperatures. So like we're inside where we've got a heater and it's like warm and cozy, but then we have to go out to the car. You go out to the car and you're blasted with cold air. And then you get in the car and it's cold for a little bit, but you turn on the heater, crank it up. And so you've got these massive extremes in body temperature. Travel will help your body to cope with that and to deal with the extreme changes in temperatures. So those are the formulas we like to have on hand. Then there's also out of the 20 herb kit, some of the 20 herbs that we like to have on hand during this time of year. They're really helpful for when things like you really need something right now, but they're all, a lot of these herbs are amazing as teas or, it's something quick and easy, but it's also very soothing and relieving. So ginger is one that we really like. Ginger is one of the major parts of travel, but having ginger, you can use it in all sorts of things. Like teas, if you do a lemon ginger tea, is really soothing if you have a sore throat. So ginger is amazing. Elderberries or rose hips, they're high in vitamin C, but they also make a wonderful soothing tea. Peppermint is another one we like to have on hand for any teas that we want. Peppermint's great because it can cover up flavors, like ginger sometimes can be pretty strong, but also peppermint tea by itself can be soothing and relaxing if we're not feeling well. Helps us relax in the evening. Chamomile is another one. Those are really relaxing and help us calm down in the evening. Another herb that we really like to have on hand is sage. So sage is one of those that's an emergency herb, because if you have a really sore throat, sometimes those sore throats can change really, really fast. And whatever it is, your glands can swell and your throat can sort of like start to close up, and a sage tea will open that up and soothe out the throat so that you breathe. It can be really concerning as your throat is closing up, the thought of I'm not going to be able to breathe. And so having sage on hand and making a sage tea will really help to relieve that. So it's really soothing to the throat, but it opens it up really fast. So that's another winter herb that we always have on hand. Slippery elm is another amazing herb. It's very soothing. It coats the throat. It also will coat the stomach. So if you have an upset stomach, so a lot of times we will make slippery elm drink It has a lot of the same spices as eggnog, and it's kind of similar to eggnog, but instead of, a drink that's just a holiday drink, the slippery elm drink, basically it soothes the throat, it can soothe the stomach. So if you have an upset stomach or diarrhea or anything like that, the slippery elm drink will really be helpful. And I can put the recipe for that in the show notes. So the important key part of all of this preparing yourself for winter is listen to your body. Warm teas of like a lemon ginger tea first thing in the morning, it gets the digestive system going. It helps clear out bile out of the liver and the gallbladder. Rebuilding herbs in the evening, tissue mend, minerals as you're laying down to rest. It will help your body to rebuild while you're sleeping. And don't forget movement and hydration. You really want to increase your water intake. Just keep the water going and don't get stagnant. It's tempting when it gets dark at 4:30 in the afternoon to turn on the TV and sit there for the rest of the night. Get up and do something, have some movement, whether a rebounder or whatever you've got, have that movement. But what's really key is to listen to your body. Our bodies are really amazing, and they'll tell us what we need. So sometimes when you're craving beef stew or, a really hearty stew with lots of root vegetables, sometimes it's your body saying, hey, I need some of the nutrients in that. Can you please give them to me? There's the jokes about pregnant women with all of their cravings and stuff. A lot of times those cravings are a signal of that they're deficient in something, and the body's saying, hey, if you eat this, I'll get whatever I'm deficient in. So listen to your body. So when your body says, hey, I need this or I need that, sometimes it's a sign, and if your body's craving something that's not so good for you, the common one is chocolate. When your body is screaming for chocolate or sugar, that's a sign that there's some deficiencies. Usually it's magnesium, calcium, some mineral deficiencies with chocolate or something like that. So listen to your body, but don't always give in to the other stuff. So allergies and any upper respiratory system issue, basically when you have a lot of cravings that come along with that one are sugars and carbohydrates, because it's an instant, it increases blood flow, increases the body's response. So give it something other than the sugars or the carbohydrates. Travel is really good. Hayaz is also another really good one that will feed that system, but it's not, so it will take away that sugar craving and replace it with something that's a lot better for you. So winter doesn't have to be the time of, hibernation and hiding and covering up and stuff, or colds and exhaustion. If we nourish and feed our bodies, give them the rest that they need, it's going to make a huge difference in how we do the wintertime and how much we enjoy the wintertime. Because every season of the year has all of its beautiful, wonderful things and all of its benefits. So it's always nice to look at those and take that time to enjoy the season of life that you're in. If you need more information about anything that we've talked about or any of the herbs that we've talked about, go to drugfreehelpstore.com, and all of the information is there. You can also get your copy of the Healer in Every Home guidebook if you haven't gotten that already. And that's got a lot of really helpful things, like how to deal with colds and flus and how to deal with other things that might come up during the colder months. So thanks for listening. I've enjoyed spending this time with you. And remember that healing starts in the home.
You've been listening to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Visit drugfreehelpstore.com to download your free Healer in Every Home guidebook and explore herbal formulas that support your health naturally. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves natural living as much as you do. Thanks for joining us, and remember, true healing starts at home.
It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.